Hello, mates. Welcome to Ralphie Review 1097 Extras. Extra opinion, extra perspective, extra input, extra extras. I know you like the extras, that's why you're getting them. And my subject today is the thoughts I have of the next 5 years for the Scotch whisky industry, in particular. But I'm really speaking about the global spirits industry. And I've noticed, let's start with the internet, which is having more and more influence in promoting brands, selling brands, and helping people know what brands are all about. It's a fact of it. And the Scotch whisky industry being ultra conservative, and I'm not saying very conservative, I'm going beyond that, ultra conservative and very self-referential in terms of expectations and, conforming and fitting and, all this stuff that businesses tend to do to play it safe. What you find is that they haven't changed much over the years, except to really sort of make whisky as accessible as possible. We see this in whisky drinks. We see this in spirit drinks, right? So that's 15% whisky, which is pre-diluted whisky for younger consumers to mix with Coca-Cola and other soft drinks to help persuade them to try this old-fashioned beverage. It's a bit of a challenge for the industry because attitudes are changing, because you and I, who are whisky enthusiasts, are subject to more and more, not just marketing from big companies, but propaganda through the internet. And I'm going to give you a very, very good illustrative point. I tend to look at whisky channels. Naturally, I want to see what other reviewers are doing, and sometimes I listen to their review and I say, hey, I'm going to buy a bottle of that and I'm going to review it too. That sounds really worthwhile. I've done that in the past. And I think that once we kind of just hedge into our familiar, the video content creators that we go back to time and time again, and the blog format content creators that we feel provide us value for our time, then we go back to them and it becomes habitual. They become our points of reference. Excuse me, tickly throat. Points of reference for what we're going to buy next and how much we're going to buy and where we're going to buy it. And I've noticed I've been getting video prompts now from slight, new age sites and alternative lifestyle sites. And they're telling me that alcohol is the demon's brew. It's a terrible, terrible thing because it unsettles your chakras and it dumbs you down and it diminishes your earth spirit, etc., etc., etc. And it used to be that you'd see one of these videos, twice a year, but now I'm seeing them every few weeks. And these are AI generated videos, right? And AI generated videos, these can be uploaded, 10,000 a day? And they're being uploaded to almost cater to whatever the trend is, that they can react ultra quick, create a video in less than 5 minutes, upload it in another 5 minutes and start monetizing it 5 minutes after that. Doesn't take long. And what you have is this interesting little insight into cyber thought. What is the machine thinking? What is AI thinking? Sure, if we go to AI, ChatGPT or any other portal and we just ask, what's the best whisky? What's the best whisky for flavour? What's the best value whisky? So we ask these questions, and at the moment we're still getting naive corporate-led responses, but that will change even though the corporations are trying to buy and hold on to the influence online. It's not quite working because it's such an expensive ticket to afford. And the consequence is that for people who are just getting into whisky, they're starting to get unexpected mixed messages in their searches as they explore the online content. They're told, oh yes, and Master Guru Wen Chan of the Tibetan monastery, and on he comes on looking all super jacked and all the rest of it. And then we get the advice that alcohol is really bad for you, but here's the supplements that are really good for you. Here's the NAC and the magnesium, and if you have this particular protocol, and of course you can buy the booklet. So what I'm really saying is that whiskey's got increasing competition as a narcotic. And furthermore, because it's a legal narcotic, and because generally people are drinking less than they used to in the old days, because necking a bottle of whiskey on a Friday night and a Saturday night in the old days, the 1970s, was not unusual. I was there. I know I don't look it, but I was there, and I can remember the regularity with which the neighbourhood gossips would talk about so-and-so up the road or down the road who had wrapped their car round a lamppost or into someone's front garden because they were pished. Then the police would be called, a report would be lodged, and if you were lucky, the following day an officer would appear, go and speak to the suspect, who had long since sobered up, and issued an advisory caution. There was a lot of road traffic accidents in the old days due to abuse of alcohol. There's no doubt about it. And we all have fond tales of the local celebrity alcoholic in local communities. I knew them in Glasgow. There was one, he was a bin man, basically. He was a street sweeper. And he was the happiest, cheeriest alcoholic you could ever hope to meet. And he'd go down, he'd be sweeping up, and he'd lift a bottle out the bin, and he'd give it a wee shake, and he'd put it into his trolley. And it's basically the bottle that he'd planted the previous evening when he was out walking the dog. So he'd have a small bottle to top up with on his rounds round the pavements and roads as he was sweeping up the litter and keeping the place tidy. And he did keep the place tidy. He was a functioning alcoholic, and you would be amazed at how many very high performing people in considerably demanding jobs are in fact performing alcoholics. But things have moved on now. And there's so many options: cocaine, antidepressants, natural herbal highs, kratom. You can buy it in a garage in the USA now in little blue bottles. I mean, that is addictive stuff. And even now in some African countries, there's still epidemics of cough mixture. Particularly, I think it's Rhodesia. Not Rhodesia, sorry. That's the old word for the country. Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe. It was called Rhodesia after Cecil Rhodes. Cecil Rhodes, the British Army moved into South Africa and massacred the Dutch settlers called the Boers. And this is where concentration camps were really invented. Modern concentration camps. And millions died. And the British were responsible for that. And it was basically a land grab for the assets, for the metal, the precious metal, and of course laterally diamonds, which were absolutely worthless and still are worthless. But there was a huge publicity campaign that it became the done thing for an engagement ring to have a diamond in it. And my goodness, what a masterstroke. And it was expected that you'd pay 3 months' wages for this ring because you were only buying one, unless you got divorced. But we've seen that happening with whiskey, isn't it? Haven't we? With investment grade whiskey. This is really cooled down. And I want to it's time that I refocused what my message here in this video. Because originally the title was The Whiskey Industry Over the Next 5 Years. But I'm kind of indirectly coming to that. Whiskey is going to share the platform with synthetic alcohols, a new generation of energy drinks, medicinal energy drinks, containing synthesized variants of substances which are legal, but because of the genetic alteration, they're not illegal. And when they are made illegal, they're just going to be basically regeneticized into something else. We're going to see more and more people become literally refined drug addicted, to the detriment of drinking alcohol, because alcohol does not go well with the likes of cocaine. It certainly doesn't go well with LSD. And I'm speaking about this not because I go down that road myself. I'm very reluctant to ever do that. But I do know people that have, and my goodness, what a fascinating conversation it was, particularly the LSD one. Drinking neat cast strength whiskey and LSD. Oh my goodness. The person that did it will never ever forget the experience. Fascinating, but not for me, not for us. I can see that the prices inevitably have got to go up for whiskey, all beverages, all alcohols. 2 reasons. The state, as it gets increasingly bankrupt through overspending and misuse of money by central government, and squandering of resources, will need more taxes, and they will basically just take more in customs and excise revenue, more in value-added tax. They'll basically indirect taxes like local government supply services, getting your bins cleared, paying for water, water being piped into your premises. And my goodness, every bottle shop needs a tap somewhere in the building. I can see that this idea that the big companies are too big to fail, I don't think that's true at all. I think we're already seeing signs of failure, significant failure for big companies. And we see this recently with Edrington Group, who owns Macallan, selling off Famous Grouse, a hugely strategically important brand, to their main domestic rivals, who are William Grant. Quite extraordinary. I never saw that coming. I'm very surprised by it. It just shows the extent of financial problems. That can be the only reason that exists. But as always, it's my opinion. I think that you and I are going to get more skilled at buying whiskey. And we don't talk about this. The practical experience and the skills that we have for buying whiskey. We're going to turn our whiskey hunt into a highly organised, strategic, AI-influenced event. We're going to go to more whiskey festivals where we can. We're going to go to tasting evenings at high street shops that provide them. And we're going to engage increasingly with the online whiskey conversation, because that's where a lot of energy is at the moment in this conversation, because it's not a one-way street. You see, marketing, it's only one way. It's for they want to tell us, end of, mission accomplished, feedback irrelevant. Whereas online conversation amongst enthusiasts is very much a two-way process. Hence the reason that it isn't too long before I'm reviewing this wonderful and very worthwhile Ardnamurchan Madeira cask matured whiskey, which is literally the last whiskey I've reviewed in my previous review here. What else would I add? I would also add that the accelerated learning curve of our palates is going to increase further as people create a tier list of whiskies. And the top tier will be the best smell taste experience. The middle tier will be the competent but not blow your socks off level of experience. And then finally, there are the whiskies that we buy at a discount. We don't buy them very often, but they're palatable and nice to share with friends. When we buy a bad whiskey, when we identify it as a bad whiskey or a bad batch, my goodness, the news is out there instantly. And I honestly believe that the way things are going, Distilleries who bottle bad batches are going to get called out so hard that it's going to damage the sales for the rest of the year, if not longer. We used to tolerate the bad batches from decent distilleries, but now distilleries are aware, Maltmates, that we know what they're up to, we know what they're doing, and we know that they know that now is not the time, the economic time, for them to take the chance and gamble with their reputation by bottling inferior versions and batches. If in doubt, for any distillery independent bottler, bottle it only when it's ready, because that's the way I do it with my bottlings. That's all I have to say for the moment. Hope you enjoyed this. If you have, subscribe, you subscribey people, because a lot of you are watching my video and you're not subscribing to be kept up to date. And here's another benefit, by the way. See if you subscribe to my channel. You're subscribing to a channel where there is no mid-roll advertisements. There's advertisements at the front of the video and at the end of the video, but none in the middle to completely disrupt and destroy your viewing calibre experience. And I can tell you right now, the way things are going, see by the time we hit November, online content creators are going to find that YouTube, the algorithm, is going to be firing 3 adverts, 4 adverts, 5 adverts, one after the other, into the middle of videos to such an extent that people just turn off the channel and unsubscribe. Well, you don't have to unsubscribe from my channel, Maltmates, because I don't have mid-roll ads. I tried it once briefly, did not like it. The quality of the adverts was shockingly bad. Bye-bye.